Welcome to the Silver Moon 13. This lovely cast iron stove was manufactured in Lunenburg and it was active between the late 1800s and early 1900s. This is a coal stove. It has about 65 castings which are all bolted and configured together to make this wonderful contraption work. Today we are going to look at the lighting of the stove using both bituminous and anthracite coal and some easy ways to light it and ways to keep it running for weeks or months if you have to. Whether you start or finish, cleaning is always of major importance to get the stove running. So we're going to start a cleanup before lighting. So first we shake.
Ready?
This is the way we shake it out. And then we unload this here. It's always good to have a metal container because sometimes these ashes can be hot and the last thing you want is a fire. As you can see, when you're working with coal, things can get pretty messy. Get a top shot. The early preparations for starting one of these stoves is secure the pan inside, close the doors, open the drafts, make sure the door is firmly shut. There's a little air vent here, we don't need that, so we can get the best draft coming through it. And now we're going to load it with coal. This is secondary combustion here. This should be closed as well. Now while we're talking here, you can see here the Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. This is Lunenburg Foundry Company Limited, Lunenburg, Nova Scotia. And it's a 13. That number 13 means that the coal bucket inside is 13 inches in diameter. You can see here, there's the coal bucket. Okay, shut it off. This is a scuttle here, and this is the tool we use to load the Lunenburg silver moon. There's the first load, and then I use a little shovel to make sure it's all the way in. And initially we start with 2 scuttle loads full. Okay. Here comes scuttle load number 2. Now you see that's only about a half of the load, and then we get that in. It is important to keep the area as clean as possible. Remember back in the 1930s and 40s when spring cleaning was a fairly major issue, especially right after winter? Well, it's amazing how much dust comes off the coal, especially the bituminous. It's very, very dirty. Okay. Now there's many ways of lighting a coal fire. You can start with balls of paper and little bits and pieces of wood, but I'm going to use propane because it's the least bother and fuss. So we're all set up. We have our air vents in the bottom. Let's start up. And we can begin heating. This usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes. And then you'll have a fire going. And then it's just a matter of maintaining it, which is shaking and adding more coal. So we're into this burn for about 2 minutes. Now I'm going to move the flame around a bit so we get a larger area. And we'll go for another 2 minutes, maybe 3. And then we'll seal the doors up. And the thing should start without a hitch. As you can see with the Lunenburg, this cast iron stove has a viewing angle of 360 degrees. There's 4 doors, 32 windows. And move it a little bit more. When you're lighting up one of these stoves, always be there with the fire. Sometimes that propane nozzle can fall out of the stove and light your house afire, so never leave it unattended. we're roughly at 4 or 5 minutes of heating now. So I'm going to shut the propane gas off. Always turn the propane gas off at the main valve on the bottle and be sure that the flame goes out. See the flame, be sure the flame goes off. Just make sure you don't have a leaky valve there. And now we set the stove up, closing all the doors. And within a half an hour, you're going to have a nice fire. So the stove has been running now for about 30 minutes or so. So we're going to check the fire and see if it's suitable. You can see it's burning very nicely. So at this point, we're going to close off our air down below. And we can open the secondary air just a tad, like so. And that should be it for the burn. Now when the fire burns down, then we will restoke. It's shake and restoke. So here we are, and the burn is facing its completion. And this is the glory and splendor of this Silver Moon coal stove. The next clip will show reloading with a different type of coal, the anthracite. It's always better to start with bituminous coal if you can, and then backfill with anthracite. Anthracite is much harder to start. So here we are, anthracite coal, ready to go into the cast iron coal stove. With bituminous coal, there is nothing. With anthracite coal, we have the blue dancing ladies. There's the blue flames, a trademark of anthracite coal. The beauty of anthracite coal is that it burns extremely clean. The beauty about what's the other coal called?
Bituminous.
The beauty about bituminous coal is it's easy to light, it's cheap, but it does have a downside. It's very, very dirty. Ideally, what you want to do is start your first fire with bituminous coal and then add the anthracite and stay with anthracite from there on.